Hey everybody, my name is Kalle Slaap, watchmaker in the Netherlands, and today the most common mistake made in watchmaking. Because I'm quite convinced that most of the defects in a watch movement isn't created by wear and tear. The most defects in a watch movement are being created by a watchmaker, less experienced or simply doesn't know what he's doing. We have a golden rule, a golden saying here in the workshop. We repair watches how they should be, now not how they were. So you can never trust a previous watchmaker because it can be some guy in a spare bedroom in his pajamas with a cat in his lap, or an excellent watchmaker, but you decide the end result and how good it will be. You are in charge of the end result. So the most common mistake is simply the wrong screws in the wrong place. And oh, stop, oh, don't touch that screen. I see you thinking I'm not going to waste my time watching a video on screws in watch movements. It is going to be worth it, and it's going to be interesting. Because if it was that simple, it wouldn't be the most common mistake made in watchmaking. I try to make it interesting for you. Cheers. Watchmaking is all tradition and conservative. Everything, every single detail in a watch movement is there for a reason. All of it. Nothing is by chance. So, watch screws as well. And it's like swimming, writing your name. It is that simple because somebody showed you the differences and why you should make some decisions. Same here. Once you've seen it, it is that simple, but I'm going to show you because not everybody is fortunate enough to go to a watchmaking school or follow some education in watchmaking. So I'm going to show you. It is simple, but worth it. I promise. Because I'm going to show you through my microscope. And there we are. A main plate. Just a simple main plate. This is my microscope and you're watching with me. And there we are. Because a watch movement is so intricate, small. There we are. This is just a donor throwaway. The thing is, and that is where most mistakes are made, is simply the difference in thickness of a main plate. Look here, it is really thick, but you have to think three-dimensional. What is happening on the other side of the movement? Because look at this. This bit here is really thick. And there it looks thick and it is incredibly flat. So a screw that is too long, here, I will show you. This plate is retained by this little screw. Fair enough. If that screw is slightly too long, and please remember in our world a millimeter is huge. Look at this. That is the small screw, and that is exactly the right size. If it's slightly longer, the balance wheel will stop. Well, I will show you the different types of screws and where they should be, and that is important. If this camera is going to work, there we are. I'm going to show you the logic of screws used in watchmaking, because that bit is pretty well standardized. I will show you. Here. This assortment is your best friend. All different watch screws, different eras, different function. Each screw has its own function. And a watchmaker never throws anything away, so always keep every single screw or disassemble watch movements and put them in there. If you go through an assortment like this, you will find any type of screw. And I will tell you a bit more about the function, because you can see just by looking at the screw, you can see where it should be. And what is the most common? I think this is the most common. Cylindrical screw head, flat bit there underneath. That is important, because in watchmaking the tolerances are so incredibly small that just a screw and make things secure. If it got a cylindrical head like this, the part that it's go in there can move a bit like that. So a cylindrical screw head with a flat bit there is always securing a part with a centering pin. So the part is centering itself and the screw will only keep it in place. I will show you the centering pins. That is like this. This is a bridge, because if it's got screws on both sides, it's a bridge, and if it's a screw is only on one side, it's a cock. And this part has, do you see them? Centering pins. These pins will make sure the part is flat and cannot move sideways. So a screw with a cylindrical head will only keep it in place. Nothing too fancy about that. So just by looking at the screw, you can see its function. This one is pretty small, but I tried to get it in focus. A screw like this with a tapered head is centering a plate itself, because it is tapered, so if you screw it down, the plate it will retain cannot move sideways anymore. So screws with a tapered head will always secure a flat piece of metal without centering pins. There is logic, and it is important. Just by looking at the screw, you already know what the function will be. These are more modern type screws, and you can see there is no thread at the end. The only function is that you can put the screw in the hole. Because there is no thread, it will lower itself, centers just a bit, and then with a screwdriver you can drive it in. But it's only to make it simpler to locate the hole for the screw. So these are more modern screws. Let me see another one. Just random, but again, just by looking at the screws, you see the function, so you know where it should be. screw with a cylindrical head, but if you have a closer look, there, you can see it's got a shoulder, the bit between the screw head and the thread itself. So that is retaining a part, but because there is a shoulder over the thread, there is a part that can move. Always, almost always, the click. So a part can move, but it's retaining as well. So a small shoulder in a screw like this will allow a bit to be in between. Never in a bridge, always a part in between there. Ah, another one. You see it immediately, the function of this screw. Do you see the interesting, right? Hopefully, and useful. Hopefully not wasting your time. You can see the pointy bit at the end. There is always a reason in watchmaking. That is to secure a dial feet. So the tip is inside a dial feet and is securing something. It is no coincidence that that small tip is there. So just by looking at the screw, you know the function and you know where it should be. Because it is an easy mistake to make, to put the wrong screw in the wrong place. Well, here is got the shoulder on top. There we are. There. So that is always, that shoulder is there for a reason. So that is in between two bits. You screw it in and it is retaining or holding something on the side, holding it down, securing it. Same here. A skirt, well, dial feet, they call it a sugar loaf screw. Every single screw, well, this is the most common, just for retaining, again, cylindrical head, flat and a bit wider, so it's usually a larger piece being put down, and so it cannot move too much. Again, shoulder, it is retaining something in between. Pointy tip, dial feet. Once you see it, it is so simple. Cylindrical head, nothing fancy. Securing a plate with centering pins underneath, because this screw cannot center itself. I hope that makes sense. But now, and that is probably the most common well, fault, defect in watchmaking, and that is the length of the screw. Because as you can see, a main plate has so many different layers and thicknesses. Even one part, when you think, okay, 2 or 3 the same screws, but because it is over an area where the thickness of the main plate can differ, usually one screw is a bit lower, because the main plate isn't that thick overall. So I urge you to have a good look at the shape of the screw, and that will tell you the function of the screw, where it should be. Because usually you take a watch, a movement, disassemble yourself, but this is a small secret. if students get a bit too cocky over here, so well, we know it all, during the coffee break, I always put 2, 3, 4 extra screws on their bench. And when they say, well, we're finished. Well, what about those screws? Are you really sure you're finished? And then you have to overthink every single step again. Did I forget something? Did I do it right? Why are the screws there? So that is for the cocky students. I throw in a few extra screws, and that really helps to make them realize what they're doing again. It's not automatic because every single watch movement is different. In wear and tear, maybe somebody is using it on a bicycle and on cobblestones all day, and so and somebody is working on the office and just rests their wrist at the keyboard, and every single watch can wear and tear differently. Still, I hope it was interesting enough. If you're still here, well, I applaud you. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the most common mistake made in watchmaking, and if a screw is too long and protruding the main plate, the parts on the other side can be damaged. Some Seikos have a screw just on top of the main barrel. If that screw is slightly too long, it is inside the barrel, it will go like that. The watch will never run like that. So, have a good look, stay calm, maybe have a coffee, and think what you're about to do, and have a three-dimensional mindset. What is happening on the other side of the movement when I screw in the screw. Again, thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed this small video, and hope to see you soon. See ya. Hit the like button, that would be nice. See ya. Bye bye.